Welcome to today's Explainer. Now, as we unpack this incredibly important issue today, we're taking a really close look at the lives and the well-being of our students. And I want to be clear right up front. This isn't just another data set to memorize. It's a profound human reality that touches our homes, our schools, and our communities. So let's dive right into this. There is something we need to talk about seriously. We kind of need to hit pause on all our daily distractions for a minute, because this is a conversation we simply cannot afford to ignore, put off, or pretend isn't happening right in our own backyards anymore. The mental health and quite literally the lives of our students are on the line here, and we've got to face it head on. Section 1, the unseen youth crisis. As educators, as parents, and as peers, we have to look at the national statistics. We aren't doing this to get lost in the math, but rather to understand the sheer, overwhelming scale of the emergency that is happening quietly all around us. 404. Just take a second to let that number sink in. That is the actual number of learner deaths by suicide recorded during the 2021 to 2022 school year. We have to treat this data point as a stark, blaring warning sign of a massive vulnerability in our youth. And during that exact same school year, there were 2,147 reported learner suicide attempts. I mean, just think about that volume for a second. That's over 2,000 kids who felt so incredibly isolated, so completely overwhelmed by their circumstances that they tried to end their lives. This tragically illustrates the absolute severity of the crisis happening right now in our classrooms and our bedrooms. To truly grasp the weight of this, we need to frame our local crisis within the broader national and global context. According to the 2024 Philippine Statistics Authority, the nationwide suicide mortality rate sits at 2.7 deaths for every 100,000 people. And if we zoom out globally, World Health Organization data shows that suicide is actually one of the leading causes of death for youths aged 15 to 19 worldwide. This absolutely validates the urgent need for intervention. It's not just some isolated local issue. It is a global youth crisis, echoing incredibly loudly in our own communities. Section 2. Behind every single number. Now, we really need to pivot our perspective here. We absolutely cannot just stare at cold, hard statistics without recognizing the profound human element that makes up every single one of those data points. They have a name. I want to remind everyone watching that behind every single digit is a real living person. A student who sat at a desk, who walked the school hallways, who had a favorite color, a unique laugh, and a whole future they were supposed to step into. They have a family. They have friends. They have teachers who, might have been the very last person to speak to them before they made that tragic decision. We are talking about vast networks of grieving people left behind, wondering what they missed and what they could have possibly done differently. Somewhere out there, right at this very moment, there's likely a child who has been silently or maybe even verbally crying out this exact phrase for a long time. I am not okay anymore. As parents and teachers, the absolute worst thing we can do is wait for the whole thing to shatter before we finally stop what we're doing to truly listen to them. Section 3, recognizing the warning signs. So if we're going to step up and stop these tragedies, we have to shift our focus to actionable awareness. What exactly should we be looking out for in our everyday interactions before it's too late? It's all about actively observing behavioral shifts. Has a normally energetic kid suddenly gone quiet and withdrawn? Are they actively avoiding the friends they used to hang out with all the time? Did their academic performance just take a sudden nosedive without any explanation? Have they lost interest in the hobbies they used to love? Or maybe they're talking hopelessly, speaking as if they literally have no future at all. When you notice these red flags, you have to stop, pay close attention, and get ready to act. Section 4. How to respond effectively. But spotting the signs is really only half the battle, right? When those warning signs appear, it is an absolute necessity to respond with deep empathy. You've got to intentionally push aside any instinct you might have to judge, lecture, or just quickly fix the problem. There's a massive difference in how we communicate when the pressure is on. We have to ditch dismissive phrases entirely. Never say stuff like, "Oh, you're just acting up," or "It's a phase, that'll pass." Those phrases completely invalidate a child's feelings and shut them down instantly. Instead, try using empowering, open-ended questions like, "Hey, I notice you're going through something. Do you want to talk about it?" This simple shift in language opens a safe door that a struggling kid desperately needs you to open. And if you are genuinely worried about their safety, you have to be brave enough to ask this direct question. Are you thinking of hurting yourself or ending your life? Now, you might be thinking, doesn't that put the idea in their head? What's extremely important to understand from the research is that asking this direct, difficult question does not plant the idea of suicide in their mind. Actually, scratch that. It does the exact opposite. It creates a vital, safe pathway. It gives them explicit permission to finally speak up about the unbearable pain they're already carrying so they can get the help they need. Section 5. Taking immediate action. So if a child bravely confesses to having suicidal thoughts after you ask, what exactly is the protocol? Well, here is a rigid, unbreakable procedure to ensure that child stays safe. Step 1. Do not leave them alone. Stay by their side. Be physically present. Step 2. Do not handle it alone. This situation is just way too heavy for any one person to carry on their own shoulders. And step 3, immediately connect them to a parent, guardian, school guidance counselor, mental health professional, or emergency services, scaling your response based on the immediate level of risk. Consider this your practical, non-negotiable toolkit for crisis intervention.
Section 6. Our collective shared responsibility.
Because, look, suicide prevention is never a solo endeavor. It is an active, collective, and full community effort that literally requires all of us to pitch in. Every single one of us has a specific shared role to guarantee no child ever feels like they've run out of choices. As teachers, our primary job is to listen without prejudice. As parents, we've got to observe our kids' habits really carefully. As friends, we need to actively check in on one another even when things seem perfectly fine. And as a broader community, it's on us to ensure that there are always accessible, highly visible options for help and support. We obviously can't wave a magic wand and fix all of a child's problems. But offering this simple, powerful reassurance, I am here, you don't have to face this alone, can be a total game changer for their healing. Sometimes, just knowing that someone is willing to stand beside them in the dark is exactly what they need to find their way back to the light. Every single child has immense value, and every single life is precious. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. Every chance we listen is a chance to save a life. Exploring this material isn't just about understanding the data, it's a direct, literal call to action for you in your own home and your own community. The tools and the understanding are right here. So the question I want to leave you with today is simple but absolutely vital. Are you ready to listen?